number of students that are receiving or multiple referrals. And so when I look at 169 and we're not quite at the end of the quarter, multiply that by 4. So we have the number of areas that are receiving. So we'll have more referrals for the quarter ends. That would be 800 would be higher than our 680. But then I looked at the opportunity that we have 98% of our students have less than 2 referrals in the system. As we continue to do our student support team process and decrease those 2% of students in terms of their referrals, I anticipate that our referral numbers should be lower by the end of the year than what is reflecting currently in our data. As far as our action steps for addressing social emotional data, our wellness team has created a number of targeted interventions for those school community. In fact, this past Monday, we had our restart day, which was an absolute phenomenal success. We were able to incorporate the requests of our students and some of the things that they were seeing at the school, and we were able to learn together. So the day was really about the sharing of each other's stories and also learning strategies that can be implemented in the school so that students feel safe, so that they feel seen, and so that they have some other options in terms of how to best make better decisions in the school that will provide a stage for success moving forward. Before we provide professional development, I'm really excited because a lot of the communities have already been in to deliver professional learning sessions to the staff. And this past Monday, they were able to do so for our students. I would like to share a quick email that was sent after the restart day from a parent. States, don't know if you're planning on having students give their feedback, but I'm sharing my son's feedback here. He appreciated being able to take a break from academics. He also felt what they were talking about was interesting and valuable. He felt it should be something that was repeated monthly, but not more often than that. He said he talked so much today, more than he had ever talked to school, and it was a much needed day. And so that is only one of many emails and feedback that we received. We were able to survey our students today, so I'm looking forward to reading their specific feedback from them. If I look at goal 2 for graduation data, you will notice that the 21-22 is still be determined because much of our 2021 data is still embargoed, but we can make some estimations. When we look at the ACT over the past previous years, really the schools performing around to see that number increase to 21 minimum, so the students are in better position to receive scholarships upon graduation. Our results has been around the same at 90, 91, and 95, and then with the 4-year graduation rate, certainly we want to make sure that we are not only meeting the state's average, but that we're exceeding it because we want to be one of the leaders in this state. Yes. Yes. And look at our action plans of how we are addressing moving to graduation. We have a number of teams that are established depending on the grade level. So our 9 through 11 are monitored with our graduation coach assistant, a counselor, social worker, and grade level administrator, along with some selected teachers. And then for our seniors, it is primarily our graduation coach, their grade level counselor, grade level administrator, and specific teachers who have had success rate with recovering credits for students. When I consider the need to create a system for 9th grade students, it's really important that we start our students off successfully so that by the time they're in the 12th grade year, the focus is more on what their collection is beyond the post-secondary goals. So that reading mode is the focus of their senior year, because we are able to make sure that they're advancing with all their credits throughout their high school experience. Today was actually our college career readiness day, and all of our students had the opportunity to either take a practice ASVAB, a practice ACT, and many of them sat in a session for internship program for success for those who want to go down the employment pathway. So great things are happening around our graduation metrics as well as our system. Here for attendance, you'll notice that we are actually doing better than we did last year for attendance. So in-person instruction is definitely superior to the 100% virtual model. Students want to be in front of their teachers and with their peers. And some things to also note is this attendance rate is higher than the previous year, despite having a high out-of-school suspension rate, which means that the attendance rate has the opportunity to improve. We have a number of students who started after the first enrollment day. And so if you have a smaller number of days, then you may not have had the opportunity to recoup. So if you miss 1 out of 10 days, that drops your attendance rate a lot faster than if you have been enrolled for 20 days and you only miss 1. So some of our students will move into that 90-90 real soon. So we're excited about that as well. Finally, ways to address attendance at the high school is really taking a holistic approach with our wellness team and attendance team working collaboratively to create some tiered interventions for those students who have chronically historical poor attendance. So we know that there are some who come to us with bad attendance habits for all kinds of reasons, and we want to work with their families to eliminate whatever barriers are preventing them from attendance. So unlike my colleagues, I can handle 10 minutes.
So Dr. Hayward, you're a part of Restart Day, the team was here on Monday. Can you talk to the board members a little bit more about the structure of the room?
Sure. So we sent out a survey first to determine what topics students would be most interested in learning more about. And so conflict resolution, social media, responsibility, they wanted someone to come in specifically just motivate and inspire, and just the sense of belonging. Yoga and meditation was also high on the list. And so we were able to, in a very short window of time, reach out to community partners, have them come into the building and work with our grade level advisories in a number of spaces throughout the building. And so on that day, 9th and 10th grade, 11th and 12th, at different times, we're able to come into the auditorium and hear from Brown Bowden and a number of his colleagues who call moves, and sharing their stories about goal setting, letting them know that just because you don't get it right the first time doesn't mean that you don't have an opportunity to restart and get it right the next step, the next moment. I was really excited to have Reflective STL, where you take some approach where you kind of do this top-down, bottom-up with regulations, so they're able to work on breathing techniques, meditation moments throughout the day. And a lot of Will can you talk about, even though we've experienced as a community a number of traumas, there are things that you can do if you want to look how your brain, how yourself shows up in the space. And when I tell you that I've had more opportunity to connect with students because they have come like teenagers privately to tell me how happy they were that we were responsive to what they requested. And then the teachers as well. Teachers were very pleased to be able to learn alongside their students, but also to hear in ways, because of the ways the questions were phrased by the community partners, to hear the responses of our students. Our students shared that at times they become very stressed and they just need a moment to take a breather. And so we're looking at ways to incorporate either at the beginning of every class period or the end, just a deep rest time. Just take time to process information. If you want to close your eyes and just be still, that's okay. So I'm looking forward to building upon that day and changing the name. We've already started talking about changing the name, and also allowing students to sign up in more of a conference format because of a quick turnaround. We place students into sessions, but the feedback that I've already been able to look at from the survey that they completed today, they want to be empowered to make choice, and certainly that is something that we want to move towards.
Thank you.
I will say one of the comments that I had received from one of the young ladies on your leadership team, she said, I was absolutely amazed at how quick they pulled everything together in less than a week, and it was amazing, and I felt so good after the day. And so not only did they learn a lot and see all that, but I'm just thinking like the leadership saw that, hey, when we see things, when kids saw that when we see things and we put things into place, we can make improvements within a short amount of time. So I just, hats off to you guys. I heard wonderful, wonderful things about the day. And I thought one funny thing was, there were some kids that came in, you know, they come in thinking that it's gonna not be good, and coming in negative, but still, by the end of it, they really were thankful for the day, the very excited. So I think that is a testament to how wonderful it is.
Yeah, and I think that also, maybe this should be going on. Continuing it. But it's not just happening. It's that consistency.
We appreciate the response, that the high school had, and students, hearing from the students, and after a great comments. Well, so please keep up. We have one question for all of our supporting administrators. Sentence, things that kind of are in that 50 to 60% power range. What type of feedback are we hearing from our families as to what the challenges may be that's So at the high school, many of our students have competing priorities. And so families with some probing questions will share that their child may be able to come because their birthday night. Some of them are responsible for being caregivers. So because some families have off employment, and now there's one job or one employee person in the home, so now the student is responsible for watching some of the siblings, and then some is really a re-entry into the actual expectation of coming in person to school. Many of our students have the luxury of learning from the kids or from the porch, wherever it is that they're most comfortable, and now coming into a school and being really held to a high standard for 7 hours a day. Please have yes.
Do I need to
I
adjust?
actually go back to the first residual effects. From the pandemic, students have got not being able to have their payments from school. So we do know there are some fears also. Some fears that need to be addressed about coming into buildings and about being in school. Fears around the pandemic, fears around also some of the behavior that we're experiencing. So it's very real. And I've heard from a lot of parents and a lot of people that we engage in conversation. Once we've had those individual conversations, kind of alleviate some of those fears, but it's very much, some fears are at the root of some of our attendance issues.
To piggyback off of what both of my colleagues said, Jones, it's not a direct answer to the question you asked, but it's related to the question. Those same fears exist within our staff as well. So I'm sure everybody on the board is aware of some crisis. It's real, right? So on top of all the challenges, jigsaw piece how it falls all together on a daily basis. Pick up classes to encourage ourselves to return. Hopefully, the subject you come in the building to expect teachers to have great days because we need to come back. Teachers as well that have those.
That are having to stay home and take care of students. Maybe not offering virtual to them so that. So our virtual classes were selected by families in the spring and created the master schedule in place. So those students who are facing these challenges in this moment, unfortunately, are not able to just flip to virtual. They do have the opportunity to log on to their local classroom and to do some of the asynchronous work and turn in our virtual meeting of classes, the direct guidance and direct instruction of the teacher. It's really essential for them to be able to successfully access material that's on the classroom.
So we had a process this year. Student support teams at the buildings had to come together and review the data. Virtual is going to be in the child's best interest. Because what we saw last year, where students were going back and forth between in-person and virtual, the overall performance was strong as in-person.
We keep a record of
instance, do we know that X% of our attendance probably is totally related to that percent of this? Because we heard the reason why attendance is poor, but it doesn't seem like, it seems like we're just accepting it and we're not modify what we do for them. So if we would modify and say, okay, for this percentage of kids are doing this, well, then maybe you need to set up something for those children so that they get that and we get that.
Yeah, and I think that's where the work of the wellness teams comes into, to make sure if it is consistent for a student, if the student is consistently away, not a day here, not a day there. That's need to be more for the student support teams to figure out what they can do different. There is a virtual option, it's through NOCAP, that some families are choosing to do. So if that's where a student support team sees there's a pattern, whether it be Mondays and Fridays or consistent absences, maybe that is a part of the equation. But what we found is the ability to just go back and forth to one person wasn't right for students' best interests. But I think it ultimately comes down to knowing students, and it comes down to the counselors and social workers.
Can I ask if we could get what that number is that falls into these different sections?
For absences.
Yeah, so like, is it that the fatigue about coming back is a true thing? And I'm telling you because when I first started going back into the office, I was exhausted, just having to get up and get dressed every day and go into the office. And I have people now that it's required to come back starting next Monday, and they're all panicking because they're like, I gotta get up and like get ready. And it's exhausting the first couple of weeks and getting back in. So it really is true. So if that is an issue, or if it's an issue where people are now supporting their families, then, what are they falling into? It would be good for us to know, because we may have to really think outside the box to adjust to be able to help these families.
So I hear what the ask is we're just trying to make sure we get a clear understanding, especially at the secondary level.
Yeah.
What we're going to see is when you see the data is concerning at all levels around attendance. As you know, for right now, we had 78 students quarantined last week. We'll be putting the data out tomorrow for the number of quarantines that we have. As Dr. Peterson shared, there's two paths to capture attendance because a quarantine is 10 days. That's 10 days of lost attendance. So if students who are quarantined, they're a negative count for the next night. Yeah, but we'll be able to count them as a positive attendance once they either complete the work or they're attending the virtual session. So we can do some survey work. That'll be the best way to get at it. Is what's the biggest obstacle to your attendance. But I think what's going to happen is after those kids that are on quarantine, those 78 kids missed 5 days of school last week, but they're meeting with their quarantine teachers and they're checking in at how they're. So some of this attendance it's very concerning right now. I mean, the data is very bad. Once we get those captured for quarantines, it's going to jump up, but we will follow through and survey kids.
We have 100 kids who are not able to make it to class. Like say that, it's at the high school and the school starts at 8:05 and they have to get their sibling to school in the elementary school at 8:35. What can we do to help accommodate to them? So that's why I'm asking what the number is, so we can, and where it falls, so we can see where the accommodation needs to be.
That's a good point. And going to the student level, rather than having the number of, we know that this impacts 25 children, 25 kids, what does this child need? That child has to get the younger elementary student on. Can we be flexible?
What if they need to, if they're parents anywhere, but particularly with us, there was a parent that couldn't get their child to school early enough. And so they called and said, hey, can you drop, is it okay if we drop her off your house and you take her every day? And that's what we did. So the school
think that's a role that district has to have. When we survey the community, one of the data points that comes up consistently is the relatively low level of trust in the community. So we have a role to play in how we help to bring the community together. So there is a higher level of trust. So we can make that.
Isn't there coding issues in kindergarten? Yeah. No, we actually mark the code and we take into comments when parents call and inform us, or when the social worker or office professional, whomever. Successful contact.
Thank you.
I want to say this real quick.
Administrators have been working very diligently to help support our students academically through their social emotional needs. I'm not going to go through this whole list, but these are some of the strategies that you've heard about. And what stands out is those collaborative structures that are placed to improve academics, to support behavior, social emotional needs of students, attendance with our wellness teams, really trying to support college and career readiness for our students, and really best partnerships with our colleges and universities, and also competence-based learning. We're going to look about that today as well. And we're really proud of the quarantine teacher process to support our students who are being quarantined with support. So just some of the highlights from this year and our comprehensive school improvement plan. Are there any questions?
Have we looked at other models of approach these social and emotional things?
So,
So I guess what I'm asking is, and we all know the answer is these aren't the same. Look at these same ways. Think ever that business as usual is going to come back. And we have to be able to change to meet those new needs, those new standards, those new problems and opportunities. Looking at things differently.
yeah, I think we started that last year when we moved to a wellness team. So whether it be a counselor, a social worker, an interventionist, an SRO, we had teams of people that were going out to meet children and families where we heard tonight that work is still continuing. The work of wellness here in the district, the partnership we have with special school district and resources through that, those are all examples of new approaches within the last 2 years. I think social emotional supports is a real strength in the district. And what we're seeing in the first 8 weeks of the school year, there's an extreme need in this community for social emotional supports. With your support, we had 18 additional staff members who are part of the social emotional team. So we're working to rise to the challenge. And I think the principals, Dr. Haywood, Dr. Rich, and Dr. Peterson should be commended for their grit and their tenacity during what might have been the first, the most difficult 7 weeks to start the school year. It's been difficult. Their tenacity and grit with the work of teachers and support staff, their support for social emotional supports. We're seeing improvements this week at the high school. This week at 8, you're aware there were some significant challenges at 8 earlier this week. Dr. Peterson spoke a little bit about that. Ritenour is getting to a better place. We're finishing this week on a high note. I'm not going to do it, but I'm feeling like all the pieces are starting to get their started.
Just listening to listening to our colleague here from last week say that there's, it sounds like there's almost a line of counselors for one at a time, sort of talk one-on-one with the counselor. I mean, that's great to hear, but that's at the same time distressing to hear. And, I hope our counselors have enough hours in the day to work with one in, at least use that time with them. It's a different time. We gotta look at things differently. We gotta get another dozen counselors up there to fix the problem, solve the problem, to address the problem. But we just can't come down and say, these are the rules, bye-bye. So there's so much more behind that action. And we never find out if we don't dig deep into it. Find out why that action came out.
I think our administrators are really placing a heavy emphasis on just that belongingness. Those relationships, we've always had that, but I think it's a deeper issue. This maybe.
I got to talk to people from one place, Fox 6, is a word that the school district, and they were saying the same things. They did not dream that their school they're looking to meet the same challenges that we have.
One point of five, pledge of allegiance. Dr. David, do we have some students from the high school?
We do, and I'd like for them to come forward and say a word. Are you open for it?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
High school.
Come forward, keep joining. Principals, I didn't know how exactly how this works, but I'm excited because we have so many great things going on at Ritenour High School. It's worked perfect when I have to share my data. And I don't share.
On the left-hand side, see if it wasn't switched off.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And so we have the Ritenour School District vision and mission, specifically for our equity statement. We decided to focus on the fact that we want to have common practices that require our staff to provide safe and supportive environments. And so we talked a little bit about that already earlier this evening, the importance of making sure that the stage is really set to meet the social and emotional needs of our students. And so this year, I'm focusing on reset because everyone was coming back to the school. Work environment or pandemic. So we said reset is great all year long and we can celebrate the victims. And so you're gonna hear from our phenomenal English teacher, Ms. Campbell, one of our students, Gage, and another student, Victoria. I'm gonna step out the way and the stage. Connectedness is something we have just talked about, and the question really is, why does it matter? And you will notice that this word, sorting of words, it looks like a brain. We think we do things, our brain tells us that it's safe to do so. And so when you just think about the way the brain is actually mapped in the different locations, the first thing information goes into the brainstem, and it determines if you're actually safe and ready to do the next thing. And the highest levels of our brain is where we actually relate and are able to reason. And so we asked our students some questions about connectedness, and these were some of the responses that they gave. You know, I want to be on a team and be close. Some of them said living in the same neighborhood is what makes me feel connected. Here is a model that I tend to reference several times, and I already kind of spoke to it. But when you think about how information comes into our body and our ability to process, the first thing is just really previous experiences, and then what's happening at that moment. The brain kind of jumbles it all together to make a decision in terms of what's the next thing that I need to do. It's not until we actually feel safe that we're able to get to that magic place or relate it to others, or to the place, the higher level that was actually reason. And then this is just a beautiful paper that really lights out the state of mind and how the state of mind determines their functional IQ. And so if you are in a state of calm, you will have an opportunity to actually do some of that higher level thinking, critical thinking that you want in school. But if you are in a state of terror, often students will present as someone with an intellectual handicap, and that is very difficult to overcome until the brain actually settles back to a state of regulation. Which is why the restart day that we just had on Monday and the skills and strategies that we're sharing with our students and staff is essential if we expect to have any kind of academic gains. And this final picture before I hand over the clicker is an inverted kind of RTI. So education, we love triangles, but you'll notice in the first picture that the gray shaded area is heavier in the brain stem because it's a dysregulated person. So all their energy really is just trying to get their body back to a place of able to learn. And then at the higher level, we would want the shading to be, it's not as much because all the energy is being exerted towards the body. We often talk about students making a choice. At that point, you're not able to make a choice. The brain takes over and it's all about making sure that you make it to the next moment. As we move to a place of regulation, the grade becomes higher in the different parts of the brain. So then we ask the question, what makes students feel connected, or what makes you specifically feel connected at school? And some of our students said, you know, my friend can tell us something for social reasons. So we talked about the black and orange, it's the tradition, it's predictability. People calling them by their name instead of not knowing who they are, and especially knowing when they haven't been present on the day before. Had some activities over the course of the month since school has began to specifically address connectedness in the building, but I am excited to hear what our students and our teacher have to share about what their experience has been since they started.
Hello, good evening, everyone. It's so good to see everyone again in person, all the faces. Oh goodness, so I have had the amazing opportunity to work with a phenomenal staff at Ritenour High School. And so far what I've seen this year is how they really work hard to connect with students on a person, like a real person level, and building trust and building relationships. And that shows through in every single thing that they do. Every single lesson plan is always student-centered. And I've actually brought some examples for you. So I'll start one on this end, and I'll start one on this end. So what our staff strives to do is to meet our students where they are and to plan with the student in mind, always thinking about social and emotional learning, and always putting our students first and thinking about them, validating them, and learning them, and always elevating their voices. And with that being said, I'm going to step back. This is Gage.
So I wrote this little snippet of after I was pretty frustrated with online learning class, and it was just so much work after I finished the class, and they were pushing so much work and didn't get a break. And so during my ELA class, What's the purpose of school? To get an education, popularity? Are we just being forced to come? I mean, why are we really here? School is so much more than just learning and passing our classes. We make amazing connections, friends, memories. But like all things, it comes with responsibilities. We have to be on time as well, have good attendance, and we have to complete every night. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, and it feels like school is just consuming your social life. It starts feeling like you don't have a choice. You're no longer a mentor. But when you ever, is school just a test and then you graduate fast, or is it never ending? People go up to college, people go up to work. Where does it end? Where do we get a break? You see, the thing is, it doesn't stop, it doesn't end. People will work until they die, and maybe that's just life. We live to die. And more of the ending was, I kind of felt a lot more passionate about we live to die less. I got a lot of work experience over the shutdown. I started working full time. My second semester, I completely shut down my school. I had to support my mom through some part times, and I became a server. And I feel like it really showed me so much. And I worked with so much older ladies, and I got so much respect for them because they were working so hard in so many days at an older age, and they were hurting, and they couldn't quit because they needed to work, and they needed the money. And that's kind of where that came in. And that more from the middle, kind of feel like that school used to be so special to me. I love the teachers, especially during high school, my freshman year. The teachers are so amazing. I get to talk to them about personal things, and they're genuinely listening and talking to me about it. And it's just a real conversation I get to have and I love to have. But I feel like after the shutdown, everything kind of changed, and classes are more like online classes, even though we're in person. Everything was so quiet, no one's engaging with anything. There's the assignment, and people sign up the room silent for the whole hour or so, and kind of that, and move on to the next class. So that is really frustrating.
And now Tori, thank you so much. I apologize for any wire. I was just so excited to elevate student voices. I just stepped back and said, here we go. And so this is Victoria Pratt. Thank you so much.
After learning from this, especially in the last week, we focused on how our students feel connected and we kind of push base for that last time. So in my essay, I'm a junior. Ever since grade one, I feel keeping my students makes me feel always cross the for example, I look so easy. I really feel I'm the one. We have this change. I think it's amazing how they realize it makes me feel more opportunities over the scale. I just need my next. Sometimes when my friends are so in creating relationships, especially spiritually, I don't really have a good time at school, but at the high school, I've never felt more connected. I've never felt more cared for, especially since Dr. Lulu came along. She really taken in the opportunity to let students
saying every year for the restart day, like that was very beneficial, especially when I did feel like things like that.
Well, I am very grateful to Ms. Campbell, to Gage, and for Tori coming and sharing. I think it's really important to center all of our work around student voice and be sharing these stories. I say all the time, our power is in our collective story as well as our individual stories. And so, thank you again, and we look forward to sharing your update with you.
Hey, Gabe, I just wanted to share something with you that a parent told one of my friends in college who was getting ready to go to college. Don't be so busy that you don't get an education. You need, don't just study so hard that you don't learn about real life. I think that's what the message was. Hey, there are things out there. Classes is part of it. So thank you very much.
Looking at 1.07, important closed session. Board application at closed session on September 9th, 2021 for the purpose of a discussion of personal agenda items. 1.08, public comments. We have a public comment for this evening. Our reports. 2.01, president's report. I want to personally thank and recognize Mr. Rob Eaton at tonight's meeting. Mr. Eaton is a super volunteer for our district and in our region. We can't thank him enough for everything he does and will do for the students and staff of our district. He is the PTO president at Ritenour Middle School and chairperson on our district PTO president's team. In July, he was named the vice president for the county-wide Special School District Parent Advisory Council, also known as the PAC. Members of the PAC advise and collaborate to improve the education, confidence, and social outcomes of each student served by SSD. PAC works closely with district administration, Board of Education, and the SSD Governing Council. In August, he not only organized our successful first ever color run, but he also coordinated all aspects of our annual Black and Orange Catholic School Bash. When he is not volunteering for a district, he runs his own plumbing business and is the pastor of a local church, in addition to spending time with his wife and family. Rob, we can't thank you enough for everything you do for our district every day. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to stand and give Mr. Rob. It's 2.02, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Elton. So thanks to Gage, thanks to Victoria for being here with us tonight and sharing their story. Appreciate it. Board members, before I get into my report, we have an administrator with us tonight. I'd like to call Mr. Rob Skinner up to the table. So you had asked when we hire a new administrator in the district to invite them to a meeting to connect to you. We had Ms. Burnett from Pratt's come and speak at recent work sessions. We invited Mr. Skinner to come and introduce himself to you tonight. Talk a little bit about his background and talk about his initial impressions of it.
Thank you, Dr. Novak, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, of the board for allowing this opportunity to stop and speak. I've been an administrator for over 20 years. Spent a very majority of my education service for 6 years as a social studies teacher. West, and I spent another 5 years as an assistant principal at Hazelwood West, and the last 11 years I've been Hazelwood Central. I have a bunch of wonderful experience experiences in those roles. Everything from working with teachers, test scores, to working with teachers, to logical skills, but mostly, I think what I enjoy the most is working with students and staff, and developing relationships with people, and learning about people and learning how to help them. With whatever is a little bit about myself. I'm married for 21 years. I have 3 children. One is 14, one is 12, one is 10. So the transition to middle school was very personal for me. Because I've been seeing my children go through that developmental stage in life, and I know how important it is. And I feel very compelled to help kids at that age. I'm a firm believer in high expectations and a high level of vigor for everybody. But I believe that in order for us to achieve the highest potential level of parent, we've got to have relationships with those that in order to encourage everybody to be the best they possibly can. Which is one of the things about the Ritenour school district that I love so much, is it's such a tight community, and there's so many integral relationships with them. I'm really enjoying building those right now, not just with the staff, but with the students and parents and everybody that I'm working with. With the staff and fantastic, the leadership team. Again, in a smaller organization than what I've been in before, there's a real neat kind of synergistic manner in which the leadership team works together, not just at the district level, but the tier folks throughout the entire district, down to the team that we have at middle school. So I'm very, very happy to be here, and I look forward to continuing that. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So board members, Mr. Skinner, the new assistant principal at Hake Middle School, excited to have him join our team and to serve the students and staff at Hake Middle School. Board members also would like to speak about one of our students at the International Welcome Center. So Christopher Moreno-Lopez is a student at the IWC. Through the work of Ms. Hahn, Christopher had one of the experiences of a lifetime. Christopher is the brother of Yubeli Lopez, who is also a graduate of the IWC and works in our registration department. So Christopher, throughout the first pitch at the St. Louis at the Cards game against the Padres on the 19th of September. That was the Cardinals' 8th consecutive win. They went on to win 17 games in a row. Despite that, separated with Coach Schill today. Christopher was one of 3 Ritenour students and family members who were selected to attend the game during Fiesta Cardinales Day. Thanks to Emerson, who provided the funding for the tickets, the Cardinals for making this experience possible, and for Ms. Hahn for connecting the IWC with this program in recognition of his family.
Moving on to 2.03, NSBA report, Dr. Brad Thomas.
Start off with our little snippet of a report from our MSBA program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of October. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the mental wellness challenges facing many of our teachers and school district staff. A continuing COVID-19 pandemic has been stressful for everyone, but especially for school personnel. Addressing mental wellness issues among staff has become a major priority for school districts. Rachel Jones is the manager of trauma-informed treatment for the Missouri Department of Mental Health. She was a featured presenter at a recent School Safety Academy sponsored by MSBA's Center for Education Safety. And she says it's important to create a supportive culture for teachers and school district staff through what she calls team care.
Team care is about how the whole building is supporting the workforce. How are you tag teaming? Are you checking in and out with people? Are you buddying up with someone so that you have an outlet that's an adult, who's safe, who's appropriate, that you can vent when you need to, you can ask for help when you need to, you can tag out if you need to. Some school districts are really great about creating that team atmosphere to help people in the moment and to help them prepare for what the day might bring to them, and even to decompress or debrief after a particularly stressful day or event.
Jones adds teachers and other school staff also need to take care of themselves as individuals.
Now, teachers individually need to be doing all the same things that we would recommend children do. Get regular sleep, drink plenty of water, eat food that is healthy, engage in activities that you enjoy that have nothing to do with your role as a teacher. So surround yourself with supportive friends and family and neighbors, and that can build up your strength to go into a school every day and handle all of those things that you won't be able to control. If you've got a good baseline and you're feeling healthy and well, you'll be able to manage the stress so much better.
MSBA has joined with other state education groups as part of a mental wellness think tank to develop a plan to provide additional mental wellness assistance to those in K-12 education throughout Missouri. The General Assembly has changed state law related to school board candidate filing for this year. Filing now begins earlier, ends earlier, and is shorter, now closing between Christmas and New Year's Day. Candidate filing for the April 2022 school board elections will begin on December 7th and end on December 28th. Contact the MSBA legal department if you have questions about school board candidate filing this year. Be sure your school board is represented at the MSBA Fall Delegate Assembly to be held on Friday, November 5th in conjunction with the MSBA Annual Conference in Kansas City. The Delegate Assembly will be voting on position statements that will form the basis of MSBA's advocacy efforts during the coming year. Every MSBA member school board is entitled to at least one voting delegate at the Delegate Assembly. And there's still time to register for the 2021 annual conference held in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators. The event is the largest gathering of school leaders in Missouri each year and will be held at a new location in downtown Kansas City from November 5th through 7th. Several specialized pre-conference sessions will be held on November 4th, including workshops for board secretaries, board presidents, board member certification, and an entire series of sessions on school safety during the Safe Schools and Colleges Forum. During the conference itself, November 5th through 7th, there will be 4 general sessions featuring some outstanding speakers and more than 100 concurrent sessions on a wide range of topics, ranging from legal and legislative updates to school safety seminars, some sessions designed specifically for rural school districts, and presentations from school districts on innovative local programs. We'll also be conducting regional meetings during the conference, where you'll have the opportunity to meet with your colleagues from your area of the state and discuss issues of common interest. Registration information is available on the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Now, coming up is that conference that we talked about in November, and for those that are going, if you look at your email on a weekly or daily basis, you're going to get updates about that conference, what more they're offering, a session, an opportunity to learn this way or that. So keep an eye on your email. Along with the NSBA conferences coming up in April, and it'll be out in San Diego. That's another opportunity for us to not only have maybe 100 of these breakout sessions, but maybe 200 or 300 over a 3 or 4 day period, along with 3 general sessions. And the general sessions usually have some very good speakers that come along with that. So I'd encourage everyone to go and keep current on what's going out in the public sector. Last thing, always check MSBA's different opportunities on their website. If you have any questions, feel free to call down there. I've called them several times and they're always willing to help you, give you answers, give you information, send you information, or help you along the way. So with all that, use MSBA and MSBA as a resource. Keep your education current, what's going on in our schools and our state. That's our report.
Special school district. Oh, yeah. We're fine. Absolutely.
So the district process, we just support and constant all of the exactly the notification of the vision is that every student realizes their full potential of mind. The values that we have to student regardless of learning earlier assessments and on staff, we learn to access resources. Commitment is everything we do about around our students and their success and collaboration. We work with parents, students, partner districts, and the community. In this meeting that was held in September, we had 15 school district representatives, signing 2, so we district said 2 reps. We did a minute to approve, there were no public comments, which is advocacy, so I can please. The report was given by Dr. Fire, and their theme is informed parents make successful students. Their goals are build a path. There are less paths from the north and south districts, and we need to get them to join or reestablish their goals. The communication is needed to be in their native language, to collaborate more effectively with SSD, and to collaborate more effectively with constituents or the community. And the third goal is the path documentation related and updating the bylaw.
I would say in the way that we are working on building that within the district is we have, as we can see, we have actively gone into those districts, having conversations with some of their parents, some of the students, the teachers, and especially the teachers, trying to get them where parents are, and then having conversations with many directly. Inviting them to our apps to see how things are going and then probably on the film.
In the business was partnership agreement report, so they still had their budget adjustments were made, and the PBS awards were announced. Famous elementary received the gold award for 10 years with the program. Walker Elementary received the silver. They also have 10 years from Western Elementary received gold. All taking the program, Washington School received bronze, that's the norm, and the Norman Early Childhood School received this. Additional information, I'll let Rob talk to you about this. Staff met at the Husband Academy on September, meeting was to be in the school.
We got to have our very first staff meeting, as regular alluded to on the 27th. So after reflecting over that meeting with we decided we've already outgrown that building. So we are moving next month to here to the administration building, and we're gonna, I think she was trying to get the boardroom set aside for us. So we are making that transition. We had about 5 parents that were there. Unfortunately, Dr. Keenan and Dr. Pingrass were not able to join us that night. They had prior commitments. But we did have the spouse and most of her coordinators were there, so that parents were able to actually put faces with names and voices. First meeting, we were able to have some parents connect with their area coordinators. They didn't know what the next step was, how this should be handled, or who we talk to. So we're already making those connections and getting that kind of chain of command in place. One of the things we talked about, what I outlined what the meetings are gonna look like for the rest of the school year. And it was asked for us to up the mental health section from May to as soon as we could possibly do it. I spent the afternoon on the phone with Peter, which is the parent, education department with, the school district. And they have given me a ton of resources, as well as I'm going to be working with my spouse to see if there's a social worker in district that from SSD that we can bring into that next meeting, help with the presentation of getting services and the resources into some of the parents. We know that it's been stressful for all of us, and we can communicate how we feel. When we start talking about some of our SSD students that can't communicate, then they just don't know how to process it and all those kind of feelings. Our meetings are both in person and Zoom, so if you can't attend in person, you can attend by Zoom. There's a link, and I will be sure that I get that to Michelle, so that the right way to get it out to all you guys on your. But then you can join us by Zoom, and we do we're very conscious of the Zoom being built on, so that if somebody's there, we're communicating with them also. They're not just kind of a bystander. We're making them a part of.
And you did a good job of how to, for the parents, how to express their concerns about bringing personal information. Afterwards, there were discussions, all the different who had concerns where they were talking about. That's really, really good. That was a good start, but they actually include participation. So we're about to build to that good side.
I'm going to be working with Doug Ray's office to get more communication out to our SSD parents invited to receive services, either IEP or 504, so that we can get that into their hands. Again, we're noticing even at the school level from PTOs and the Zoom meetings have really been an added benefit to those that can't get childcare, that have homework things, to at least get more participation. So we're going to really push that side of it to this in person.
And the other plus I saw was that the parents that did come, we have a small level. Yeah.
Early childhood.
So we have someone from everyone, which I think is perfect.
I have asked all of the PTOs to push in their PTO meetings with kind of a reminder, get them, I gave them flyers so that they can get those kind of passed out or their PTO with their fingers. So we're doing everything we can to try to get it very readily available to the parents, and we're already seeing great outcomes from it. So.
I have to say that Rob did a great job of hosting the, I think people very comfortable and bringing their own experiences, you know, I think that.
I will say that it's an advantage of masks right now. After earlier and now, it's kind of high blushing. But no, I want everybody to feel that that is a place that they can come and have an open conversation. Again, at least not while recording's going on, please don't use names, but have that open and get those resources and know where to reach out and get help from.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was October is the designated month of celebrating disability history and awareness. I think y'all can just do that. So, yeah, but several events were planned through SSD, and on the 5th of October, we received a notification of the Zoom webinar. It goes over to the public and shows them intelligent lives with a thing that's going to follow. The thing included 3 other people that were featured. And this is the trailer. I don't know if you can pull that up.
I'm gonna have to reduce, and I think I can.
I've got work with Clayton, which to put that on, and they are getting these. So we can sit and for our.
Not very long, but it's.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay. I didn't know if it would be available. If you can give it, we'll let y'all know. Anybody got some questions or concerns?
I have a question. Do you have the schedule already for the rest of the meetings?
The
The
date schedule or yes, the PAC meetings are the fourth Monday of every month. So they start at 6 p.m. We're moving here for this one. And ideally, we're gonna outgrow this one this meeting. And then Julie and I are gonna be looking for somewhere else. So location I'll have to get to you, but it is always the fourth Monday of every month, except for the December, which falls on winter holiday. And then there's one more, and I think it's Bell or spring break or something. There's those.
And is there a flyer for it?
Yes, I will be sure. I will give that to Michelle.
I was just saying, if we put it online, there's somebody that sits in the audience and does a really good job of making sure to share it on social media sites. And she does a really good job of putting it out so that everybody can see it, and I think it would be a huge advantage.
Yeah, when you think of the.
Yeah.
I really should have a lot.
Right.
We should have a really big.
Let's just go ahead. Do we have current numbers on? We have services. It was like 1 in 5 before. It's still like that.
Yeah, so I don't have that data off the top of my head. It was 17, just under 17% from last year.
I'd be interested to see if that was it. All the stuff that has gone up, that has gone down. There are reasons for that. But we pulling good feedback.
Thank you both.
Thank you for and for coming. Thank you back to Brian for coming and Julie for all of her time and effort that she's helped me. Yes.
Families that were there were very appreciative for that space. And we're there learning and discovering. Dr. Kilroy got a chance, and Julie got a chance to do some boots on the ground. Look, students and families, so that was a good thing too. So, person. Moving to our services, professional services agreement. Mr. Deborah.
So, so I'll get started this evening. Part of the equity statement, one of the key messages for the project posted this evening is equity and fair consistency for all of our families and staff and facilities in the most equitable and possible. So it's one of the equity statements. Just to give you a little bit of background about this, we put together a pretty extensive RFP this summer. Dr. Kilbride and I started talking about this work and I just on the other side of the sort of progress and we had 3 vendors that were interested in the work. And so the description that's on the screen actually is what we told the vendors. And so we have a balance of only attendance between crafts and good. So the next slide, I can sort of show you the results of that from our attendance. But it's, like I said, we actually had some good responses to the RFP. I had a lot of questions to the RFP. I shared that when we got last week in the work session, but was good. So we're taking a look at the school enrollment as of September 10th. It's a snapshot on that day. I think that it changes every single day. We did have a difference of 182 students of our school elementary level. So tonight, proposal that I'm bringing to you is to work with a consulting service to do this work in the district. I've worked in the district since 2006, and we've started this kind of use 15 years and going back and talk to some individuals there. A really long time. So not only will we be doing the district work between all the elementary schools, but it'll also just be an extensive look at our overall district, our trends, what's going to in the future, which I think that the work that we're going to get from this project will be tremendously for the future, not only for the attendance areas, for our staffing, but also for the space and everything. So basically what we will go through in terms of this is we'll get a detailed demographic of the district. We'll have some community engagement sessions, and I've talked to the firm about multiple community engagement sessions. We'll also have them broken down elementary school. Everyone will have a chance to express themselves by elementary school. Ultimately, if necessary, we will create new school boundaries, and then we will bring the results to you in May 2022. And like we talked about in the first session, it won't be a situation where we bring this to you now, and then we'll come back in May 2022. And here, this is the plan. We'll keep you apprised along the way and give you updates throughout the process. So that'll be part of it.
Now, could this possibly affect the boundaries of the
It is possible, yes. Basically, the way it's been described to me, the way that we do is electronically, we're just going to have a puzzle. Together. And this is actually not my expertise area in terms of that either. The boundaries for the attendance areas, but looking at the middle school, it's very different from and so there it's possible. I think it's part of that process. Unless we recommend not to change the middle school boundaries, which would work. And we don't want to change their boundaries for the community. That once we at the same time, the changes are necessary, it would make sense.
And so I would think what that process could look like is this year, as we're keeping the board abreast leading up to May, sharing some scenarios leading up to May after the community, so that that's the desire that the board has, that we can know that going into May. So it's not a recommendation in May, it's not supportive of the process.
So description of work, this is going to be from initially from the start of just taking a look into this. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of data, which I'm excited about. I apologize, I have a mask on, but I'm talking all day. I've never done it. It's just like, it's hard to keep the mask going on. When I've been talking so much, I've got a lot of meetings in person. I feel really bad. I'm not sure if you ever did that from learning this. But we will have a facility study and data collection. We'll be working with a firm called DLBZ Architects. They're going to take a look at each part of each of our spaces, and they're going to walk through, and they're going to be used in the future, the spaces that we have, the spaces that we utilize differently. They're going to just do an extensive study of that as well. We're also going to work, just take a look at that. I think actually from Decatur, Illinois, and so they're a partner with the firm that we would like to recommend to you. So they work really closely. Early Cambridge. With the help of Dr. Charles Cochran, they'll create a 5 to 10 year Dr. Cochran's highly regarded, he has more than 35 years of experience. And he's really excited to start the work. It'll also be helpful as part of this audition process. It'll be helpful for the HR department to deal with the staffing, taking a look at their staffing for the future. And also the production process. We'll have actually, well, I mean, exactly what we have to correct. So, enrollments, members for the future, and improve the production process. Like I said before, the mapping actually sounds really exciting. We can take the map of this. And so if you use children in this school, this is what happens. And so it's actually kind of really exciting. The technology is always amazing. Thinking back to like hearing stories about how people used to do it with big whiteboards all over the room and drawing maps everywhere. It's like that. It's a lot different now. It's exciting. It's faster, but it's also, you know, it's the same work. It's just always be different. So, as a district, like I said, with the motion members, we'll need to create a list of priorities of what the most important and when we run and community will come together as well. And I mentioned this earlier, but really the key messages for the project are parent consistency for all of our families and staff of the district, and then utilizing our savings in the most efficient and effective. So taking a look at this, now I did change the slide from last week, let's say community engagement around the so for those of you a little bit more detailed. We're just taking a look at what the football steps would be in terms of football throughout the winter and spring. If you chose a farm, you would then select a worker or facilitating team. And I think I mentioned last week that one member of the board would be part of that facility and involved in choose. And then we would also have but we was in that project, we have somebody part of that committee from every facet of the district. So we would work out this through the process for that and we represent the farm. Then we would begin the extensive data collection process from the top and the application firm. We have multiple rounds of community engagement. These would be both in person and on Zoom. So we would probably have hybrid. We would just do one in person. Difficult to have 100 meetings and be able to keep everyone just, and then ultimately, as we keep addressing what's happening here, we'll come back and make 2022 for one day. And then that we would communicate with all of our families and really the next steps of what we're doing as part of the project. So we received 3 bids. I was really excited to look at the bids. There's some really impressive companies that were out there. We received the low bid was from Creative Entourage. And Creative Entourage was formerly Unicom, and Unicom has done some extensive work with us with our bond issues and with our tax studies going all the way back to late 1980. So they really had a long-term relationship with the district. Cooperative strategies, I had really good did that. They were, I mean, so it was really excellent, just for some amazing work, but it did. The reason why the rates are so different, two companies are from out of town, so one from Ohio, which is Portland, they factor in all the travel costs and they factor in all the hotel rooms and that sort of thing. Let's create a entourage to the local St. Louis company and say, so we would like to recommend create an entourage. I recommend it for good reason why we would recommend it because it's actually successful in the common staff. They're local, they have excellent references, and we were checking these references. They were below bid, and we've had that 30-year relationship with them. So our recommendation would be to ask the board to go enter the contract with Creative Entourage for effect $41,700.
How soon will we start the
It's like, but it'll be tomorrow, but we'll start in this quarter. I don't know actually if we will, so it'll get early, probably early this week. I know that there's some things that we do have this opportunity. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We don't have to date set yet because I know there's some background work that needs to be done for that. So what we'll do is our next step will be
Madam President, I move that we approve the Creative Entourage LLC redistricting agreement totaling $49,750 as presented. Yeah.
Yes.
Come on, Doug.
Can I ask a question before? Is there any way that we can also get like the number of classrooms, real classrooms? I know we enabled some classrooms.
Not June 4th.
Yeah, like, don't count the stage as a classroom, but like real classrooms for each of the buildings. Like, because they're not all built the same and equally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Check out SRO and Mojo. Nice.
I just think it would we have more classrooms than tracks. As long as everybody finds it helpful.
Okay, now we'll give it to us anyway.
Well, those classrooms on the stage. You sure know, they're really nice.
You guys have done a very good job. Good evening.
Well, this is good. Good to see you. Okay, so I am here to speak about updates to the of course, our mission and vision, safe and functional school provide an environment that helps achieve our mission and vision. Facilities should provide the best physical environment for learning to occur. And all district schools should provide consistent and equitable environments. And of course, safety plays a large role in providing equitable environments. We're really proud of our partnerships that we have with all of our police departments in the area. St. Anne, St. John, and Breckenridge Hills provide school resource officers in some of our schools. That includes Ritenour High School, PAKE, those are serviced by St. Anne. St. John has an SRO at Ritenour Middle School, and Breckenridge Hills has an SRO at Hudson. Last year, the Board of Education approved revised language to the St. Anne MOU for their SROs. And we felt it was very important for that language to be included with St. John and Breckenridge Hills MOU and the police chiefs in those departments. So edits that are being made to the MOUs include Ritenour will organize a meeting once per semester of members of the PALT and members of the police departments with command staff to discuss the strengths and opportunities of the department. Ritenour will organize and provide anti-bias training for RSD administration staff, which will be offered to the police department SRO, and offer the training will be extended to all members of the police departments at no cost, and will be designed in coordination with the police chiefs. Ritenour has revised their existing restraint policy to be in line with best practice. To that end, the use of any chokehold, defined as a physical maneuver that restricts an individual's ability to breathe for the purpose of incapacitation. Any current Ritenour School District student is prohibited, and that is actually and in the event of full-time virtual instruction across the district, SROs would transition to assist with wellness checks of students in the community and throughout the region. These wellness checks would be conducted in collaboration with Ritenour counselors, social workers.
And therefore, I'm recommending that the Board of Education approve the St. John and Recreational
So board members, if you do approve this recommendation, we would be organizing a meeting at the December work session where we would have the chiefs from the different departments and Mr. Smith come and provide an update on the status. On the status. So working our way through each of them.
So once you say it's already in place.
That is correct. That's been in place since last year.
And so if you approve this tonight, these are the three departments that have SROs in our buildings. We do not have an agreement with over.
Let's say and will be here in December. Is there a reason why we don't have any SROs from Overland?
No, there's not a specific reason. We've had DARE programs that are elementary. Generally, SROs at elementaries are not a best practice. We've not had the elementary level. So it's not a situation where there's no start of the relationship.
So you do have one building right there.
And so the Breckenridge Hills officer might be talking about the.
Yeah. So Breckenridge Hills actually received a grant, a safety grant, a federal safety grant, and it allows them to provide an SRO to the school district. Right. Yeah. So we had a lot of discussions about what the best use of that officer would be. SB Academy supports the high school and the middle schools, but specifically the high school. The most logical place to help us out. And he also comes over here, and he's available to go to other buildings as well, but his main focus is this. Correct.
So the recommenders, they're absolutely more than.
So that's like on the SRO for Ritenour that starts off with a at Marvin. And then, through once alignments to a college expensive day. There's not a full-time SRO there.
That's not necessarily the case. St. John has their SRO actually serves as their officer at Marvin. Because that's the municipality. And then, but the other elementary schools, mostly through Overland, they have their officers. So Officer Otwell, serves all of those, but there's not an SRO or their program at Pratt's. That's just one that they have the program.
So that used to be when I was at Brass Edmondson. We served their program.
Madam President, I move that we approve the St. John and Breckenridge Hills School Resource Officer memorandum so stated as presented to this board.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Members, this is the item that we spoke about last week at the work session for the St. Louis County Board of Elections to run our board candidacy. There was a question that came up at the work session last week. I think we passed the question. Michelle dug into the question. The question was around how will the board know when campus are coming? Michelle, you want to share?
So this is going to culture. Then I'll let you know. What?
Go. So board members, if you approve, we would enter into this agreement, whereas the St. Louis County Board of Elections, Plaza, any board candidate from December 7th through December 28th. So who wishes to file would go to the County Board of Elections. They would handle that process. There is a lottery on the first day. There is no lottery on the last day of filing. So all through the agreement. And submit this for your
Second.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes. And I vote yes.
board members. Thank you. We'll be holding a board pre-candidate forum in connection with the December work session, so that if there are some potential candidates interested in filing, they can learn. Well, so it's going to be that the board handbook project that we're going to be going over in November. The goal is to have the handbook project complete. And, so I want to make sure there's enough time.
Board second reading, policy A, educational.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Evans. So board members, policy ACJ, we went through some revisions to make sure that the policy is in line with the equity statement. By modifying the policy based on recognizing the elements including SES status, class, religion, traumatic experience, disability, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, and gender identity can deprive students of educational equity. The fact that all of those items are called out in the policy, that is parallel to what's in the equity statement. By approving this policy, we commit to a yearly review of disaggregated data. The disaggregated data include the following. You can see the children demographics that will be addressed in a yearly review of disaggregated data, part of one of our meetings, as well as the dashboard that we will be. There are three foundational questions the board should ask when making decisions. Number one, who does this decision benefit? Number two, who does the decision differentially impact? Does it differentially impact groups? And number three, what can be included to decrease or eliminate disparities? This is the second reading and seeking your approval of policy ACJ.
I motion to adopt policy ACJ, educational equity as presented. Second.
Any comments?
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins?
Yes.
Ms. Lover Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Bogart?
Yes.
Ms. Liberty December? Yes. And I vote yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a good step forward, tying it into our equity statement that the other side of the.
So board members, starting this month, we'll be bringing to you the return to learning plan on a monthly basis. So it'll be coming to you at the business meeting each month. This is to be in line with House Bill 271, which passed during the last legislative session. When the legislative session ends the second week of May, generally legislation that passes goes into effect the last week of August. House Bill 271 limits municipal health orders. So the length of orders, specifically masking, social distancing, that are being implemented by counties and municipal governments. This limits those orders to 30 days. If the orders are not reapproved after 30 days, the orders lapse. There's legislation that's it's been filed by our Attorney General around this issue, and based on legal opinion, municipal governments, school boards are legislative bodies. So this House Bill 271 covers school boards as well. So starting today and then every month after this, I'll be bringing to you and seeking your approval of the return to learning plan. There is one change in the return to learning plan. We met with the return to learning committee yesterday afternoon at 4:30. Shared background on House Bill 271. Shared the change that I'm going to speak about, which has to do with quarantines at our school for early childhood, and then shared some of the key components of the return to learning plan. Got the feedback from the committee before we wanted to see your approval. Everything else in the return to learning plan remains as it was from the date that it was implemented, which was August 4th, before the start of the year. So the change to the return to learning plan has to do with quarantines at the school for early childhood. So we use contact tracing in all of our buildings and identify close contacts. A close contact is within 6 feet, or a person who is positive for a total of 15 minutes or more over a 24-hour period. If that's the case in one of our K through 12 buildings, students or potentially staff members who are unvaccinated would need to be quarantined for 10 days. People who are fully vaccinated do not need to quarantine after being in close contact unless they become symptomatic. At the end of August, the St. Louis County Department of Health made a change in guidance. It's based on the belief that students that are 3 and 4 years old cannot properly mask. So the change to the return to learning plan, I'll read it to you verbatim here. Based on a change in guidance from the County Department of Health, will implement full quarantines in the event of a positive COVID case in the classroom at the early childhood center. Should a student or staff member test positive in a classroom at the SEC, all students will be quarantined at home for the duration of the quarantine. No modified quarantines involving contact tracing are possible at the SEC. St. Louis County Department of Health reached out to us specifically and is requiring us to make the change. So this is in line with St. Louis County Department of Health guidance. There was a question that was asked by a board member. So if there is a student at the SEC that's quarantined at home, would families that are paid for service at the SEC, would they still be required to pay? We don't have a system at the SEC where if a student is absent for a day, they don't pay for the service that day. The same thing would apply during the quarantine. It's a tuition-based program and pays on a week-to-week. So as much as we would like to be as flexible as possible with families, we don't have the ability to, if a student either misses a day or is quarantined, to have families not pay the tuition, which is ongoing. We are seeking out options for no cost early childhood. So that's what's going on now. We don't have confirmation yet, but it's something that we're exploring. So again, if this is the one change to the return to learning plan, if there is a positive case in the classroom, all students in that classroom will be quarantined for restriction. All of the masking expectations, which are full masking regardless of vaccination status for students or staff while indoors, that's still the expectation. Masking is not required outdoors. Questions you might have about the return to learning plan, I just wanted to share that if you approve this tonight, this plan is in effect for the next 30 days. We'll be coming back to you in November, seeking your approval again. If ever there's a change to the return to learning plan, we'll throw the return to learning committee together, talk through the feedback before we come back.
So on that, where if they're in a classroom, 15 kids and 2 teachers, and one person in that classroom tests positive, everybody in that classroom is quarantined for an attendance.
It would, if the adults are vaccinated, they will quarantine if they vaccinated. Vaccines are available. And even with the current recommendation, it's going down 5 years old, so don't believe in the vaccine is actually, but every child.
That's kind of where I have an issue, since we are charging our families. And if I'm not the person that tested positive, but my kid has to quarantine because of that, we're still charging them for those 7 days or whatever, and they're not in there. So I just don't know that I think that needs to be a consideration, because it's not really fair to that family to have to pay for a week when it wasn't.
We don't test, we don't test positive. Have to pay for somebody.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I hear the financial concern, and that financial concern is real. That's why we're really pushing on identifying ways for no cost tuition at school for early childhood. Right now, we're a tuition-based program. Every year in that program is significant. If we go, we're in quarantines, then in our the student has a sickness that's not tied to COVID, that's maybe 3 days in the or 5 days in the third, could also be made that you have to pay for tuition. Significant financial harm. That's our goal.
I'm more concerned about the parent who it's not their child, but they still have to quarantine because of that, and we're charging them on top of it. So something that they didn't even bring in, and they're being punished for. So,
and that's why we were resisting this change. So I want to be clear, what's driving this? It was St. Louis County Department of Health reaching out to us. So we had quarantine classrooms. That was our approach. If there was a positive class, then we work to make cohorts of kids that would stay together in the school. We learned from St. Louis County Department of Health based on that change at the end of August that was no longer possible. Potentially become some action. So
The county said that we have to, we're not going to tell them that class will just stay.
no, it's the St. Louis County Department of Health. Which is because we asked all of those questions to try to be as responsive as possible. Our data at the SEC right now is positive. We do not have a positive trial at the SEC right now. And we believe that our process was not given an option. Every SEC program has to follow this.
What happens if we don't?
So the St. Louis County Department of Health, it's, authorities are not involved, but the county Department of Health has the potential to take some action. It's not been tested at this point. So we've also got some parents also at the SEC that are advocating for making this change as quickly as possible. Some parents and some staff members have reported are not following county guidance. So Ms. Hahn is getting a number of emails and contacts from parents and teachers. And I think it may have been some of them that reached out to the county Department of Health to increase the concern.
how it works to help cover those costs, because I completely, I'm all on board for the safety. you know, obviously. But it's just that how you mentioned. And I totally understand that it's how to say for other purposes, you know, we still need it. I totally get that.
So it's taking it out of the hands of the other parents. The parents said, you know, don't have the sick child. So just-
So hearing the feedback from the board, what I think could be in order is to write a letter from the Board of Education taking about the financial impact of this decision. I can work with Doug Wright, we can put some language together and run past the board. You know, the board does have the ability to reverse course on this and do something other to our tuition agreement, but I would say it'd be significant. Yes, it's a program that we already each year. And we're not sure how long the pandemic is going to be impacting us. Being a tuition debt program, if we forego some of those tuition dollars, it's going to be financial issues. We have fully certified teachers. A number of early childhood programs don't have fully certified teachers, which are much lower cost. But because we're focused on quality of those teachers, it costs much more. And that's the whole reason.
The money left over, it's out for.
So we have to look into that. We did not consider that at this point. We submitted our ESSER plan. This was not a part. That's something we've been looking into.
And I do understand what you're saying about like, oh, if my kid is just sick for a couple of days, I shouldn't have to pay for it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you have students who are in a classroom with a child who tests positive, so that whole classroom has to be out.
Even though they're all well.
Even though they're all well, and my family has not done this, but I'm still going to have to pay for something that I'm being told I have to do. And that is where I have the issue, is I don't feel like our family, because to Vanessa's point, they're going to have to find other help, and so they're probably going to have to use that money to pay for somebody else. So it's, yeah, that's not a part of this, but I think it's our responsibility as a district. I fully understand that going red over time, but I still don't think it's right for us to do that against our kids. And I'd like for us to look at opportunities. Well, a week, because it's 10 consecutive days. Your weekends count a part of it, so. Yes. I get it, I understand, but I just don't, I don't feel comfortable having to have our families pay that. So if there's something that we can come up with, I will.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I hear the concerns. I'll connect with Mr. Lindhurst to explore options for us, or follow up with the board in the future about that. For the timeliness of this, because the county department of health is expecting a follow-up on this, so we're doing this tonight. You know, following up with the board by Monday. Is there some ways to provide for it?
That's right. I mean, we approve this tonight, and next week, whatever, we can change it, right?
So what needs to be approved tonight is the quarantine process. The question that's being asked is around.
But it's two different things, I agree with that. For the
this
one,
affects us.
you know, for the one that's paying for two kids to go to the, that's really, yeah, I agree, it's a lot of money. And, you know, I'm thankful for my kids. You know, they got two of them going there right now. Yeah, that is a lot of money. I know this is a separate thing, and we can move to approve this, and we can approve it, and make the county happy and all that. We do. But I want to make sure that our parents, and parents don't have that federal income because they have kids. So we have to look after this, that's help out. You know, it's one thing if a kid gets sick and the kid gets over, they're sick, but one kid taking out essentially 14 more, that's disastrous. So, yeah.
Reality too is that, you know, let's say this does come up, we don't deny students, we're not going to, right? So worst case scenario, we probably kind of wipe out that debt or that.
Yeah, I'll ask, like my.
Madam President, I approve I move that we approve the October 2021 return to learning plan as presented.
Second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe board members. Items 1 through 24 for your consideration. And I ask any questions.
Yeah, number 24.
So we have,
24. What's that? Is I don't know what that is.
oh, status supporting schools that have used rate to.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're just gonna have to. That's not good.
Provide some opportunities.
This is not,
Previous. Yes. It varies, it's been, day to day.
you paying by the day or?
There's a concern for meeting job requirements for the weight that we feel is the teacher.
there,
the stipend for national aid certification. So this person.
Not actually you.
Yes, it's actually, it's, I mean, yeah. Really more than other.
move to approve recommendations 1 through 24.
Yes. Yes.
I have one. It's kind of a comment or request, whatever, but we need to get a new sign. I think that that's just so important. When school started, I think we do a good job of letting our students and families know, but the people who drive back and forth in the community, if it says, football game tonight, or school starts today, or, have a great day, whatever, I think that's so important. I really think
Yeah, so board members, we've done this work. We did this work 3 years ago. So we've got things in place, based on cost that we can.
Positive messages up and down. Good things.
Those were the LED, I'm sure the price is about the LED lights program. The worst thing we keep doing is the problem we have with that is just about the program. So if it was behind, like a lot of times, had no put up there about change letters.
That's why we never approved that.
Right, because you always had about change letters. We can program it from the principal office or something.
That's how the other one was. But then those kind of things are just really important. Yeah, these travels fast, then we can travel just as fast.
So I just said my granddaughter's going to awesome group up there, diagnosed of the problems that they fought. Up there and it was a big process. There is that it really was. They're ready to shut off using one eye. So it's awesome catch for them. So, hats off to them. Everything else, those good. So help her out tremendously. At my work today, I was sharing with you earlier, we have a job fair. Over 500 employers looking for skilled trade people. We can't have enough people in our school to fill their needs. And I know this is a rub for me here every time we talk about getting people college ready. You go to rank in our another trade school, you get the rate for $60,000. We really need to look at how we can make that as equal as kids go to a 4-year college. I know they told me that our counselors are not turning their phone calls. When we call them, I talked to the gal that has her contact, and she says she's called there several times. The messages, no answers phone, and no returns phone. Opportunities there, opportunities for our kids. Like with Florida Valley, you have the one semester that you have the dual enrollment. Right, there's something similar to that. They get one semester totally free. We need to really look into things like that. 85% of the skilled trades out of the market right now. 85% will be retired and out of the working market in 4 to 5 years. Just had a guy in my morning class, electrician, have to decide whether he wants to go to work with Boeing at $31 an hour or Amazon at $31.65. $62,000 a year job for a young man that's not still a step foot in production facility. The best part is that's the option. It has to be an option. I'm still trying to emphasize rank, and there are other trade schools around, but instead of putting them in debt for 4 years of college, go to rank 14 months, 24 months, which would be $25,000. That's all kinds of scholarships so far. So I would really encourage our counselors to answer the phone with all what people call and return phone calls. I told them stop calling the high school calls here. Can't do one like them. And when they have a school start, I understand that. I want to thank everyone. Thank all of our administrators for not only being here tonight, but being here for our kids from day one to now and beyond. You know, no matter what your role is, friends with the IT department or Mike with the human resource or anyone in between, you guys have done one hell of a job, and I really appreciate it. The community does too. Just so you know, they might not call up here and say so, but they're thankful. One last thing is the cuteness factor on this board has been raised probably 1,000%. Yeah, you too, Ruth.
Okay, I just got to like say. So the first is, I don't know if the teacher's name in the middle school, but apparently made a really big impact on my little sister who just came to 6th grade. But I used to jump on my little sister on the phone with a friend, and they were talking about how nice she was, and they were like, "Yeah, that's my favorite teacher." And they were getting together talking about they were going to try and buy her some candy. I don't know who that teacher is, but she's very appreciated in the little girl 6th grade group. I wanted to also say, at the high school counselors, I don't know how they got all of the school supplies, but I know there was a kid, I was trying to go get school supplies back then. And I went to Miss Cunningham and I was like, hey, do you have anything like a better backpack? But I didn't have a really nice one. She took me right behind, like, the wall. She was like, yeah, all of these people, I didn't think I was ready. That was, I just thought it today. Now, that's it. I didn't know we had that. And that's really nice for like all of our students to be able to have something that they don't have anything. And also something else that I talked about with Dr. Kilbride, when I first got sworn to the board, we talked about something with the police and the high school, more police and open it. And you told me to try to see if I can find any students that would like to be in that. I got 2 students for you. I'm happy to forget about it. But yeah, so I was like.
Thank you for being such a great advocate.
Best.
Board members, I know we have, work session, and we got the course, government scorebook, and we're trying to look at that. We went through, started looking at like different sections that maybe applicable to us. I tried to break it down so everybody doesn't have to read the entire book, trying to be respectful of everybody's time, and just get feedback. If you have any questions about the sections that you were assigned, or if you have any challenges or concerns about that, please reach out to myself or Stacy. And everybody. Thank you for that. Get a little busy and forget what it's. I just want to reiterate one more time. Thank you. I know that the board approved to have the additional counselors, but we just saw, based on the presentations, how important it is, especially this year. So, you know, I know that it's also difficult to find the right people to bring in too. So the fact that you were able to find good counselors, bring them in, get them up to speed, and, you know, have them get used to the Ritenour way and the Ritenour students. I just appreciate that so much, because it's just so needed, and we just need to make sure that we're staying there with these kids and helping them get through it. So, I appreciate the work that you guys have put in. Agenda.
Move we approve consent agenda items 4.01 through 4.07 as presented.
Second. Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Long? Yes. Mrs. Burns? Yes. Ms. Overton? Yes. Ms. Overton? Mrs. Smith? Yes. Yes. Closed session. 5:01. I move to reconvene in closed session for state statute 610-021 for the purpose of discussion of personnel and student personnel agenda items. Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Burns? Yes. Ms. Jones? Yes. Ms. Overton?
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith? Yes.
Yes.